Hi, it's James. I missed yesterday, so I'm going to read 2 chapters today. Also, I'm in a different place. I'm in my kitchen, which is not as clean as I would like it to be, but that's fine. Because currently I am making, I don't know, it's like rhubarb, an apple, and cardamom, and Earl Grey tea and lemon juice, and orange zest in the oven, which should be good, but we'll see. So I'm definitely going to have to get that out at some point, but I'm going to read as much as I can before that, and maybe a bit after that. Anyway. Chapter 4. It is Monday morning, and I'm late. I barely have time to pull on pants and shirt and grab a piece of toast before Grace honks in the driveway. Grace takes Alice and me to school on our way into town. I swing my backpack into the front seat of Grace's Impala and slam the door after me. You have to slam it hard because of the rust. I am relieved to be out of the house today, glad to be going somewhere, even if it is school, instead of waiting around for grandmother and Carmen to find each other. That's right, I forgot. Grace and Alice discuss Saturday night's birth, comparing notes about the integrity of the placenta. It is normal Monday morning conversation. After a while, the subject moves to food. Birth or food. Topics with these two are simple and to the point. First period English class, Mrs. Brown assigns a 360-page book on the history of the Victorians to be finished in 2 weeks and hands back my essay on Emily Bronte. C. Only a C. I'm disappointed. It's not that Mama cares anything about grades. Grandmother either. They care more that I not fly into trees. But I liked this essay. I spent an entire week on it, and there's only one comment on the whole thing in fat red letters. Vague. What's that supposed to mean? Is the whole essay vague, or just one part? The facts about Emily Bronte's life are rather vague. Besides the fact that she wrote Wuthering Heights, there's not much known about her. She spent the last 3 years of her life in seclusion. I think teachers want history to be more exciting than it really was. They don't want to know what Emily Bronte's probably spending her afternoons. They don't want to know that Emily Bronte's probably spending her afternoons baking and dusting. They want intrigue, adventure. In Spanish class, we begin with 10 minutes of conversation. This morning we are asking each other questions. When it's Carl Snyder's turn, he asks, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish at all. ¿Se Georgia pena su pelo a las mañanas? My face turns red. Yes, I want to answer. Yes, I do comb my hair in the morning, just not this morning, but I can't put that many Spanish words together all at once. Carl is small for 10th grade. He has a little bit of facial hair growing on his chin and wears thick reading glasses. He doesn't mean to annoy people, but everything that comes out of his mouth sounds like a whine or a taunt. Usually I just ignore him, smile, and go about my business, but this morning I narrow my eyes and whisper, No me molesta esta mañana, Carlos. Don't bother me this morning, Carlos. The morning runs on this way. 5 problems wrong on a math test, and incomplete on my watercolor and art class because I left it too close to the heating vents and the edges burned. To top it off, on my way to gym, I realized I forgot to put on any underwear. By 12:30, I want to go home. I didn't pack a lunch, so Alice gives me half of her smoked brie and salmon salad and 1 chocolate eclair. I sometimes wonder why I even bother coming to school. English is the only class I like, and even there, I'm vague. I don't fit here any more than I fit in at home. It's difficult being friends with people you have to lie to. I could tell them some things about myself, but I'd have to make up the rest. I'd have to invent a normal life somehow. Maybe the only place I belong is in the sky or on the back of a horse where I never have to explain anything. I arrive home at 3 o'clock and head directly to my room and comb my hair. It's a warm day for October, so I change out of my turtleneck and slip on a light flannel shirt. I lift the latch on my window. It's one of those big, old-fashioned windows with 32 panes of glass that opens like a French door, the kind of window I've seen in movies filmed on the Riviera. I was only allowed to move into this room when I turned 7, which grandmother has declared to be the age of reason. Before this, she said I was too young to have such a big room with a window from which I could fall and break my neck. That never would have happened, though, as I have a great respect for heights and incredible balance. And, of course, I can fly. I hear a voice below me. It's grandmother yelling up at the roof of the barn. I have seen her do this in the past when pigeons took up residence there. Having pigeons in the barn is one of grandmother's greatest fears. Pigeons in the barn are like bad relatives. They mess up the house, they never leave, and when you go on vacation, they invite all of their relatives to move in with them. I don't think she's yelling at pigeons, though, because when grandmother stops, a voice answers back. I lean out the window as far as I can to see what's happening. On the porch that juts out from the studio sits Carmen, completely naked, sunning herself. Even though it's a warm day for October, I feel cold just looking at her. "Listen here," grandmother is saying. "You get yourself off this property, or I'll have Sheriff Stone come over here and take you away, clothes or no clothes. Do you hear me?" "Please," Carmen says, "could you lower your voice? You are disrupting my meditation." She waves her hand in grandmother's direction as if she's trying to brush away a fly that has landed on her nose. "Why don't you calm down, and I'll set up a time to talk to you later." Carmen lies down on a piece of tie-dyed fabric she must have taken from the wall in the studio and replaces her sunglasses. I have never heard anyone speak to grandmother this way. Even the paper boy is afraid of her and calls her "Mrs. Handsome, ma'am." Grandmother's cheeks are turning red. I think she might explode. "I'm calling the sheriff," she barks up at the roof. Carmen sits up again, leaving her shades where they are. "Hey, Vermont is a free state, isn't it? I have the right to sunbathe on my own private property, don't I?" "That's where you're wrong. This is no private property of yours." Carmen reaches to her side and pulls over her black bag. She must have retrieved it this morning, or maybe she just put a little spell on it last night and it flew down all on its own. She undoes the drawstring. Her hand disappears inside and emerges with a thick envelope, which she waves in grandmother's direction. "I have some business to discuss with you, so why don't you be a nice old gal and meet me at 5 in the studio?" Grandmother turns and marches into the house, slamming the screen door behind her. I'm not sure if I should laugh or feel embarrassed for grandmother. I can't believe Carmen had the power to send her away. It's amazing. I am wondering where Suki, Eva, and Mama are when I hear a voice calling up to me. It's Carmen. She's turned in my direction. I've been so absorbed by their argument that I'm leaning far enough out the window to fall on my head, fulfilling grandmother's prophecy. I have never seen a woman Carmen's age naked before. I've glimpsed Mama getting out of the shower on occasion, but Carmen looks different. Her breasts are firm and stand straight out from her chest, and her stomach is as flat as mine. She's tall and muscular, strong from so many years of flying. I stare. "Do you always watch the world from up there, or do you come down once in a while and check it out for real?" She pulls a shirt over her head. "That old lady is a bag of hot air. I don't know how you can stand her. At least you're not afraid of her, though. I can tell. She hasn't taken your power yet, has she? Of course, I've never actually seen you fly, but I imagine you could do it all right. Not like Maeve. Poor Maeve. I hope you'll take better care of yourself." I stop staring, feel my face flush. A hot surge of anger rises to my throat. I've had it today. I don't need to listen to this. Who's Carmen, anyway? A stranger, that's all. Just a stranger thinking she knows who I am, who Mama is. I could find a shred of humor in her attitude with grandmother, but the way she speaks of Mama makes something in my stomach burn. "Why don't you go back where you came from?" I shout. "Why don't you leave today? No one wants you here." I slam the window, making the glass rattle. I take the stairs 2 at a time, jumping over the back stoop and outside, and I run away from the house down to the ridge. I'm so angry I want to punch something, break something. My feet are going on without me. I run faster. I can see the cliff coming up in front of me. I want to stop. I know I should. I try, but my feet won't listen. When I hit the sharp edge of rock, I lie into the air all by myself. I'm not holding on to Eva. I'm not falling into the blackness of night, and I can see everything. Trees and houses and sky. Blue sky. I'm flying between sky and earth instead of in a dark, endless void. I should go back. I should turn around right now and pretend it never happened, but I can't think clearly. I am so full of anger. "Damn you, Carmen," I yell. "Damn you for making me do this." But Carmen isn't around to hear me. I can't hear myself as the air rushes past my ears, and my eyes are stunned by the beauty of the sky. I fly on. I try to keep my focus, concentrate on my breathing like Eva taught me, put the image of Carmen inside a small box at the back of my brain, but my anger keeps bubbling up, so I let it propel me forward. I head down the valley to the little red farmhouse I've seen so many times from the ridge. I watch the afternoon sun reflect off the silver silo, turning it into a gleaming tower. I want to get closer, but I don't dare. It is bad enough that I am breaking the rules and will probably never be allowed to solo. I don't want to be seen on top of that. Maybe I should keep going and never come back. What's there to come home to anyway? Grandmother's anger? School? Carmen? My own banishment? I take a deep breath, increase my altitude, and fly as far away from the house as possible. I fly south over the Hopkins cornfield. Ugh. Anyway. I fly south over the Hopkins cornfield, over the crisp stalks and the Hopkins' horse. Brandy, who has jumped the fence again and is eating a patch of grass that is still long and green. Brandy is an old mare, but she can jump any fence if there is something on the other side she wants badly enough. Brandy was the first horse I ever rode. But Hopkins used to let me ride her around his barn whenever Mama and I went over to buy eggs. I have never seen Brandy from this perspective before. She looks small. I yell down, "Hey, Brandy!" but she can't hear me. She's not used to looking up. Most animals, and people, are not. I decide to keep to the more rural areas. I could cause quite a commotion if I flew over the village of Hawthorne at this hour of the afternoon and someone did look up. I fly south towards the islands, where Eva never lets me go. There is a hydroelectric plant on the mainland near St. Simon. Eva's afraid I'll get too close out of curiosity and get caught in the power lines, but I have no desire to go there. I only want to see the water. I'll stay on this side of St. Simon. There's a strong, good wind blowing me in that direction, out over the waters of Lake Champlain. More than 10,000 years ago, Lake Champlain was an inland sea connected to the Atlantic Ocean by the St. Lawrence Seaway. Divers have found the skeleton of a whale in the lake, and there are rumors that a sea monster still lives in the depths. It does look deep and mysterious from up here when the shadows of the clouds pass across it. It's bordered by the cold, gray Adirondack Mountains rising to the west. There's a bit of snow on a few of the higher peaks, like little white hats. From the air, St. Simon looks smaller than it seemed last summer when I picked blueberries there with Mama. It is a 15-minute ferry ride from the mainland in summer. No ferries go to St. Simon in the fall, so there is no chance of anyone seeing me here. Even if they did, they would only mistake me for a gull. Whoop. I'm probably gonna bake it longer. Ooh. Hell yeah. I'm gonna try it for 8 minutes longer. Ugh. Just a really nice video today, huh? It is not a bad day for flying, but over water the air currents are more fierce and less predictable. I attempt to head north, but the wind picks up and I'm blown farther south. I make an adjustment. This is what Eva calls it when the weather forces you to change plans. You have to always be willing to change your mind, Georgia. Don't get rigid in your thinking about how it should be up there. There is nothing in the sky that can't change in an instant. I pull my arms down to my sides in an effort to descend, but within a minute I'm blown in the direction of the mainland. There is nothing I can do. I can't fight the wind, so I have to wait for it to change. Below me, the hydroelectric plant comes into view, but I'm too afraid to look down. I have to move away as quickly as possible and stay above the power lines. Getting anywhere near them could be deadly. I feel a slight buzz inside my mouth. My metal fillings are picking up current. Suki has told me if I ever feel that sensation, I am too close to a source of electricity, and I should increase my altitude and fly straight home. I can see the dam directly ahead. Fear grabs hold of me as the image of Charlotte's gravestone comes to my mind, cold slate like the color of the dam. Charlotte flew alone before initiation, and look what happened to her. For those who fly too high, dear Lord have mercy. Please, I pray, please, not like Charlotte. If someone had told me I'd be flying alone over Lake Champlain in the daylight, I never would have believed them. There was no way this morning I could have known where the afternoon would bring me. Like Charlotte. She woke up that morning with only one thought in her mind, skating. Skating with her father. She dressed, brushed her teeth, and kissed Isadora goodbye without much thought, without any knowledge that it would be the last time. It makes me shiver when I think how unpredictable life is. How just when you think you have everything in order, you break your arm, or fall off a mountain, or get sucked into some power lines. Up here, those thoughts only fill me with fear, and in the sky, fear is your worst enemy. I breathe in deeply and try to recall Eva's words instead. We were flying in a hailstorm last spring, and Eva told me, "You may not know what's ahead of you, Georgia. The weather could be better. It could be worse. But you can't get stuck in the place of fear. You have to feel the fear, let it pass through you, and keep going. You have to be brave." I breathe deeply and feel the fear tingling down my arms. I climb higher, and within a minute, the wind changes in my favor, blowing me east back over the lake. I fly home. It takes me about 10 minutes to reach the ridge. I approach from the north, where there is less chance of someone seeing me. I expect the whole family to be standing out there waiting, but there isn't anyone in sight, and at this point I no longer care because all I can think of is that I'm alive, and I've been given a second chance. Chapter 5. It's like 5 pages long, so I'm just going to power through. This time of year, the barn smells sweet from the hay Mr. Gowan brings in for the winter. We don't need the hay. We have no animals to feed, but grandmother likes the hay put up just in case. In case of what, I do not know. The one thing grandmother did not take into consideration with her no-men rule was how to move tractors and hay the fields and repair the plumbing with a house full of artistic women. Perhaps she hoped one of us would show more of an interest in things mechanical. In any event, she has to hire people to take care of practical matters. She spends a great deal of her time supervising and scheduling the hired help. She refers to them as the people. She'll say, "I have good people who work for me," or "It's hard to find people to come out here." "Where are my people today?" she'll ask frantically when Mr. Gowan, the handyman, or T.C. Pellman, the plumber, is late for mowing or haying or any of the 100 odd jobs grandmother has lined up for one of her people to do. I've known Mr. Gowan for as long as I can remember. In fact, Mr. Gowan and T.C. Pellman are the only men in my life except for my science teacher, Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard is old enough to be my father, but not as accessible as Mr. Gowan. Mr. Howard is married and has 4 children and lives in a big house over in Garrison. I think he already has too many commitments, too many women who expect to be special to him as it is. He doesn't need another. Mr. Gowan is different. When I'm with him, I can just be myself, and no matter what I do or say, it seems to please him. I hear Beulah coming down the driveway. Grandmother spends every Monday afternoon sorting books for the Hawthorne Historical Society. She always arrives home irritable, complaining of a stiff neck from looking down for so many hours in the Society's deep basement. It's 10 minutes to 5. I need to take my place if I want to hear anything of Carmen and grandmother's conversation. I haven't seen Carmen since I came back. I went directly to my room and fell asleep for half an hour, took a shower, and stroked Squirt's fur until she'd had enough of it and hid under my bed. Whenever I'm worried, I pet Squirt long and hard. Right now I'm worried about Carmen. I'm worried she saw me take off and is going to tell grandmother. There's a loose floorboard in the studio on the second floor of the barn that opens a long crack in the ceiling below. I climb up on the hay bales, feel around with my hands until I find it. I give it a shove, the dust and hayseed fall into my hair and eyes. If grandmother knew about this board being loose, Mr. Gowan would be called in to fix it, which is why I've never told her. I keep it jammed up tight whenever I'm not using it as my spy hole. I found it one day when I was helping Mr. Gowan stack hay. I stood up and hit my head so hard on it, the board gave way. It's been giving way ever since. The floorboards are getting old. Great-grandfather built the studio at the turn of the century as his invention room. The Cooney clasp was made there. It is the only invention he made any money on, though I don't think he did it for money. Making things was just something he had to do. He invented hundreds of impractical gadgets, some finished, others lying in boxes on the first floor of the barn. My favorite is the egg cracker, an egg cup with a tiny hammer attached to the side by a spring. When you draw back the hammer with your fingers and let go, it cracks the egg into the cup. I've used it a couple of times. It needs some adjustment as the egg usually misses the cup and oozes down the side. Grandmother never mentions any of great-grandfather's other creative attempts. She never mentions anything about her father other than his success, which seems a little narrow-minded to me. I prop my back up against a hay bale and pull a package of malt balls from my pocket. It's too dark to make out the ingredients on the back label, but I believe they have absolutely no nutritional value, which makes me very happy. I see Carmen's bare feet walk across the studio floor to the sink. She turns on a light and sits down at the table. I have an excellent view from here. I can see everything but Carmen's left arm, which disappears into the shadows. I stare up at her face. It is a long, thin face with an elegant nose. She's very attractive, sensual in a way, comfortable inside her own skin. I wonder if there's a look to a person who breaks the rules, a strength in the jaw, a knowing in the eyes like Carmen has. I wonder if I look different now, if I look more like her, if I am more like her. She seems softer tonight, less fierce, but still unpredictable, someone I don't trust. I wish I were still angry with Carmen. It would make things easier. I'm not sure what I would feel toward her. All I know is I'm glad to be alive, and that seems to overshadow everything else at this moment, except my worry over her telling. As much as I would like to be free of grandmother's rules, I don't want to be sent away like Carmen. I don't want to leave before I'm ready. I get an empty feeling in my belly whenever I think about never seeing this place, or Mama, or Suki, or Eva again. There's so much to lose. When I was little, Mama told me the story of Carmen's banishment. I always wondered what I would do, where I would go if I made some irreparable mistake. Even then, it seemed unfair to me that grandmother had that much control over our lives. Now here I am at that place. My future is in the hands of a woman I hardly know. I think Carmen might be trying to help me in her own strange way, but I also think she could be out to destroy me. With her knowledge of my forbidden solo, she could do either. Carmen empties a leather pouch onto the table, and a handful of small stones fall out. She turns them over and closes her eyes. Then carefully she picks one, flips it, and holds it in her hand. Patience, she says, and sighs. Runes, I think that's what they're called. Grace has a set she keeps in an old cookie tin on her nightstand. Once in a while she takes the runes out, washes them in the pot in the kitchen sink until they are smooth and dark. Sometimes she asks Alice and me to think of a question and pick a stone out of the water. I almost always choose the one with the arrow. Courage. At a little past 5, grandmother's footsteps ascend the stairs to the studio, and Carmen collects the stones and drops them back to the pouch. I practice controlling my breath. Breathe, breathe, hold. Thank goodness I'm not allergic to hay. There is no exchange of greetings when grandmother enters the studio. She is very good at the silent treatment. I can see her face like a stone, her body rigid, wearing a gray apron and practical shoes. Carmen dressed in black silks and gold jewelry. I can hear the dozen bracelets on her arms jangling. Chairs scrape the floor. I want you to look at these. It's Carmen's voice. The sound of paper being placed on the table. Silence. Paper moving. I crane my neck so my ear is as close to the opening in the board as it can be. I don't see how this has anything to do with me. Grandmother's voice is sharp. It is a copy of the will, Carmen explains so slowly. I recently searched through some old records and discovered that when Isidore died, she divided the property evenly among us. She left me the barn, the studio, and 12 acres on the East Hill. I know you have never told the others. Grandmother pushes her chair out and stands up. Is this why you've come back? To disrupt our lives? Didn't you do enough damage the last time? I see Carmen's back lean deeper into the chair. It depends on what you call damage. It looks like you made a fine recovery. You did get Georgia out of the deal after all. When she says my name, I shiver. Georgia is none of your business. You agreed to that when you left. Don't worry. I'm not here for Georgia. I came only for the initiation, as we agreed 16 years ago. I know you hoped I would forget. She hands something to grandmother. This is my birthday gift to Georgia. I'm giving her the land deeded to me on the East Hill. I've already had it taken care of by my lawyers in San Francisco. There's a pause. It is very generous of you to give away something that isn't yours, says grandmother. It is mine, says Carmen. There's anger in her voice. No matter what little tricks you've played, Mother, I know the truth. I have the papers. I'm giving Georgia her freedom. Grandmother turns and walks out of the studio. I can hear her firm steps down the stairs and the snap of the back door. Carmen sighs. I am confused. Why would grandmother withhold land from us, and why would Carmen give anything to me? What is this agreement they are talking about? Carmen takes a box of matches from the shelf above the stove, lights a stick of incense, and circles her head with it twice. She walks over to the door and blows smoke all around the edge of the frame, as if to seal off cracks where air could seep in, as if to keep out any unwanted spirits from coming in the night. Great. Coughed a lot. You were there. Bye.